Yep, you guys read the title right.
In my games, you get points for killing baddies.
Yeah, and you spend those points to get cool upgrades to make us more badass.
That is impossible.
Yeah, but it's called progression in games. A must-have.
Hey, hi, how you doing? This is the Gamertron, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. And yes, once again, you did read the title right. This video is about the problem with player progression in video games. Or at least, my problem with player progression in video games. Now I know what you're all thinking. Player progression? What the hell could you possibly have a problem with that? That's what gives meaty content to games. That's what drives players to keep playing games, am I right? Well, here's the thing, every gamer's different. I'm different, you're different. We all have different play styles and different ways we like to play games. I am a different gamer for you, and for me, I'm not all too comfortable with player progression. Now, there are some games that do player progression right, and I don't mind it, but most games with player progression, I tend to bend the rules a little in my games. You see, with games such as Mass Effect and Dark Souls, Borderlands and Dying Light, I have no fears in admitting I used mods. The moment I started the games, I modified them so that I was max level. I had a ton of, like, say, ability points or experience or whatever in general in order to have a max level character with high health and immediate access to high level items. I also tend to give myself infinite currency so that I always have money to buy stuff whenever and whatever I want. Now, I don't do this for all my games. Granted, there are just a few specific games, like I said, Mass Effect, Dying Light, Dark Souls, Borderlands, etc. Because here's my problem with the player progression systems in those games and other types of games similar to them. The problem for me with the RPG player progression mechanics and features, you know, leveling up, ranking up, grinding, so on and so forth, I don't like that much. And I find there to be a lot of problems with that kind of system. Again, this is just me. I'm not saying my opinion is objective fact and all games need to be this way. I'm just saying this is what I feel when I play games. This is what I like when I play games. Now, I don't mind unlocking shit as long as the shit I'm unlocking in games is really worthwhile. And in a lot of these games, the stuff you unlock, usually experience, ability points, resources, currency, that sort of thing, usually I find are very minuscule, and I don't see why I shouldn't be given them, why I can't have this stuff right away. Now, I usually understand the RPG player progression system in games and what its purpose is. You're supposed to feel weak at the beginning, like a newbie, a recruit, and as you play for the game, you get stronger and stronger and better and better. You feel like your character, you as the player, are learning and growing and becoming more powerful, and I get that. But with a lot of these games, in the context of their stories, the characters you are playing as are already experienced badasses. So having to level up and gain all this stuff, gain experience for something that my badass character should already know off the bat, kind of bothers me. I mean, the characters I usually play as in video games are experienced soldiers and warriors who have been through battles before. Why is it only the battles taking place now, through the course of this game, do I gain the experience and the ability to do stuff that this character should already be able to do? Let me give an example. The Batman Arkham games. In every single one of the Batman Arkham games, none of your upgrades or progress transfer from game to game. And in the Batman Arkham games, you have to get the same upgrades over and over again. I'm sorry, does Batman not retain all his equipment, all his combat upgrades, and armor upgrades that I gave him in the previous games? How come in the new game, all of a sudden, all the progress I made in the previous game is now gone? Why is Batman all of a sudden a newbie, a recruit, and doesn't have all these abilities that he already learned in the previous games? You see what I mean? And another thing, not just exclusive to Batman, but to other games with player progression systems as well, why is the cool shit only saved for the later half of the game? Why can't I get the cool shit right away? Cause in my opinion, what would make me want to keep playing a game is the cool shit, the cool abilities, the cool weapons and items. I want the cool stuff right away. I don't want to have to play 5, even 10 hours of a game until I actually get to start to play with the badass stuff. Perfect example, Dying Light. Why do I have to get to Survivor level 12 to gain access to the grappling hook? One of the coolest and most useful items in the game for moving around the environment, tying together with your parkour, only available at Survivor level 12. And the problem with that, and the problem with most games with a player progression system, is that in some games, you may finish the main story before you even unlock all the cool shit. Because for a lot of gamers, now I'm not one of them, but for a lot of gamers, once they beat the main story campaign, they're usually like done with the game. Never pick it up again unless it has a co-op or multiplayer mode. For a lot of gamers, doesn't matter if you're max level or not, when you beat the story, you're done with the game. And because some of the cool abilities and items are locked behind a level up system, any gamer can just beat the main story without getting to max level and having all this cool shit available for them to play with and have fun with. Do you see what I mean? There are times when player progression systems make you miss out on cool shit, especially if you're one of those gamers who's like, okay, once I finish the story, then I'm done with it. Allow me to give you an example. Skyrim, one of my favorite games of all time. Now, I've made several characters in that game, several save games, and I usually almost always played as a warrior type character or a mage type character. I never really got into archery. So after a few playthroughs with different characters, beating the main story, doing some big epic side quests, I put down Skyrim for a while. Months later, when I come back to the game, I feel like experimenting, maybe giving archery a real try, because whenever I used archery with my previous characters, it didn't seem all too effective. It seemed like a waste of time, like, oh, they could have done archery so much better, made a few changes and stuff like that. Now, once I start giving archery a chance, and I start looking at the skill progression available in archery, I come to learn that there's the ability to slow down time, basically go into slow-mo aiming with bows. Keep in mind, I had already played like, say, 50 to 100 hours of Skyrim, and I never knew I had the ability to have this awesome Max Payne bullet time slow-mo effect with bows and arrows. I would have picked up and done archery so much sooner, played Skyrim for so much longer, if I knew that that was available in the archery category of Skyrim. But I didn't know this ability was available, because I didn't level up in archery, because I didn't play as an archer, mostly because I didn't want to spend the time unlocking all the shit to become an archer, because it didn't look like being an archer was all too fun in Skyrim. Little did I know, being an archer in Skyrim is so much fun especially because this slow-mo effect. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but I just want to make my point clear. I would have played so much more Skyrim. I would have used archery so much more in Skyrim had I known about the advantages and had all these awesome abilities that come with the bow and arrow. But I never knew, because this stuff was locked off to me due to skills leveling up in this player progression system. Which is why, from now on, when I play Skyrim, I play it with a mod where I have a ridiculous amount of ability points to spend at the beginning of the game. So I can get all the cool, awesome abilities at the beginning and be a badass throughout the game, not just near the end game. Look, I play video games for a power fantasy, for empowerment. Yes, I like a challenge from time to time, but I play video games to feel empowered, for the power fantasy, to feel like a fantastical, fictional badass. Since I'm not going to be shooting aliens or slaying dragons anytime soon in my real life, being able to be this awesome, unrealistic badass in video games is intoxicating, and one of the reasons I come to video games. I don't feel too much like a badass in a lot of games with this player progression system blocking my way to all the cool abilities. And the stuff that really makes the game fun and gives you more variety and gives the gameplay more versatility. Now, I'm not saying all player progression systems are bad. Not at all. There are some that are really good and even addicting. Warframe, for instance. I don't mind the player progression system in Warframe because Warframe really makes me feel like I've earned my stuff, I've earned my levels, I've earned my weapons and my Warframes. And while my weapons and Warframes aren't all powerful when I first get them, they're still really cool and fun to play with even when they're unranked, low level. And when I level up my weapons and Warframes, then I feel godlike. I have fun at the beginning when I get this new stuff and I'm progressing through the game all the way to when I'm max level with all this new stuff I've gained. I don't have to build up or work for the fun is there to begin with and it just gets more fun. A couple other games I find do player progression really well are the Darksiders games, the Dead Space games, and Evolve. Darksiders player progression works because 1. You're a badass from the start of the game. You're playing as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Although not as powerful, you kind of sort of have your maximum potential taken away from you. Even with your maximum potential taken away from you, you're still a badass. You still have these awesome moves. And when you get new gear and equipment in these games, it doesn't feel like the game's been holding out on you, it legitimately feels like you're making progress, cause every new piece of equipment you get in Darksiders helps you move forward in the environments and in the story. So I'd never feel like the Darksiders games were holding anything back from me, I was just exploring and discovering and really progressing. In Dead Space, I think the player progression system really works cause the player progression system is all about collecting and surviving and looting and scavenging. It's about bettering yourself to survive this alien zombie apocalypse. It's not tied to leveling up and ranking up. Isaac Clarke is an experienced engineer and necromorph killing badass. He doesn't need to relearn skills, but he needs to find resources in order to build better gear to deal with the situation. Also, all the Dead Space games have a New Game Plus, which is a big plus in my book. And finally, I think Evolve's player progression really works because 1, it forces you to experiment. If you want to unlock new characters, you have to maybe play as a character you're not all too comfortable with. If you look at all the characters in the game and you go, that one trapper looks really interesting, I'd like to play as him. But I'm only really comfortable playing as Assault, so it forces you to experiment, to try other characters. Even if you're not too good or have as much fun with one character, once you start to experience that character, you may grow to like them and get used to them, but you'll also unlock a new character that you may like even more. Evolve's player progression is tied to experimentation, actually trying the different characters to unlock new characters to give you more to experiment with. So, for example, a new Evolve player, if they want to play as the monster, they start off with Goliath. They soon start to get used to Goliath, start to form their own strategies and playstyles with the character, but as they're playing the character, they eventually unlock a new character, Kraken, and it may turn out they like Kraken more than Goliath, but they never would have known that had they not got to play as Goliath and then have this new character available to them to play and experiment with. So I really like how Evolve's progression system forces you to play other characters to experience more variety in the game. However, most of the time with most player progression systems in most video games, in most RPGs, I prefer having all the cool shit right up front. I don't like having to grind and wait or even miss some of the badass stuff, equipment, items, and abilities that are only available late in the game. Why can't I be a badass at the beginning of the game? That's my thought process. I like being a badass from beginning to end. I like having all the perks and bonuses and just awesome stuff availed to me at the start of the game. I get the need for player progression systems. I get why people like player progression systems. But me, I'm the kind of guy who likes all the stuff given to me at the beginning, not having to grind for it. But hey, That's just me. That's just the kind of gamer I am. So, what do you guys think? What do you think of the kind of gamer I am? What do you think of my opinion on player progression systems in video games? What's your opinion? I'd love to hear your thoughts, feelings, and personal opinions in the comment section below. I love reading comments. I don't get nearly enough comments. Please leave a comment. And if you liked the video in any way, shape, or form, if you guys enjoyed the gameplay, my commentary, my opinion, if you liked anything about the video, please hit the like button. Hitting the like button helps you, helps me, helps everybody involved with the video if you hit the like button. And finally, I am the Gamertron. I love video games, and I love talking about video games, and if that's something that interests you, maybe consider supporting my channel by subscribing to me. Anyways, guys, this has been a video, and I will see you guys later.